what, March of 2013?
I believe so. I believe it was March 5th as the video said.
And you were being told by police officers, ignore it, it'll go away?
Yes,
And did you try to ignore it?
I did on multiple occasions.
And did it ever go away?
It never did, sir.
You signed an affidavit in April of 2013, which is the basis for this injunctive relief?
Yes.
Nothing true.
Sir, did you ever engage in using a video camera yourself while you were on duty?
I believe I did once when I first met Garrett Ian, and I thought that it would deter him from videotaping me, and I realized that it didn't, so I didn't do it ever again.
And how did you use it?
I used it I sometimes used it like over my shoulder like this, because he was walking behind me, and sometimes in front of me like this if he was in front of me, from what I recall. Like I said, that was, I believe, in December.
So you filmed him during the course of your shift for the purpose of making a point?
I honestly thought it would deter him from filming me. That was my point.
And Mr. Berman was using his video camera to make a point?
I believe so. You'd have to ask Mr. Berman.
Defendants were using their video cameras to make a point?
I'm not sure. You'd have to ask them.
I will, thank you, Your Honor.
One last thing, and that is, what we saw with regard to Mr. Berman. Mr. Berman is a private citizen, isn't he?
Yes.
And did you see other private citizens in the city of Keene interact with each of these 6 defendants on occasion?
Not each of them, but some of them.
Well, tell me who you saw.
I remember one time.
Your Honor, this objection beyond the scope of cross-examination.
It is beyond. How is this to the subject of the recross-examination? We're on round 3 now. This is, and I don't know. We're going back into area that relates to broader involvement with other members of the public.
Well, it just came up that Mr. Berman was using a video camera and interfacing with some of the defendants here. I just want a couple of questions with regard to whether this gentleman has seen similar encounters by private citizens to stand up for Mr. Gibbons.
Your Honor, Mr. Bowers already had the cross and redirect on this.
I agree. If the objection sustained, if there's something that relates to the recross, we have a number of witnesses. This is day 2 of a preliminary injunction hearing. We're going to move this along. We can sit down.
Thank you.
I'd like to call Jamie McDermott. Your Honor, if you wouldn't mind swearing her in.
Mr. Chairman, if you may stand and raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you gave this morning is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, under the pains and penalties of perjury. And you can be seated. If you could state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
It's Jane McDermott, McDermott.
Morning, Jane. You're a parking enforcement officer with the city, correct?
Correct.
And how long have you had that job?
1 year.
Approximately when did you take the job? Do you recall?
It was September of 2012.
Okay, so you're coming up on your 1-year anniversary now.
I had, yep.
You've heard some testimony about what you do as a parking enforcement officer. Would you mind putting in your own words what it is that you do?
Monitor the streets for parking violations, answer questions from people on the street, get directions. People sometimes ask me if I've lived here all my life and if I know of a good place to eat and things like that.
On that point, are you from Keene?
Yes,
Did you grow up here?
yes.
And what's your educational background?
I have some college. I received a certificate for office work at New Hampshire Vocational. Graduated from high school.
And Jane, how old are you?
51.
And what were you doing before you took this job?
I worked in Human services, basically focusing on drug and alcohol addiction.
What are your hours, when you were hired, what were your hours?
9 to 5:30.
And what days did you work?
I work Wednesday through Saturday.
Were you a part-time employee or a full-time employee?
Yes, part-time.
Have you encountered the defendants in this lawsuit while you were doing your job?
Yes.
And who have you encountered? Can you identify each one?
Let's see, there's Garrett Ian, Graham Colson, Ian Freeman, James Cleveland.
Have you ever encountered Peter Ayer when you were doing your job?
I didn't remember, but I found in my logs that I had one brief encounter with him, but he wasn't Robin Pudding. I don't know if you want me to refer to that.
Why don't we, Your Honor, if I may at this time, I'd like to show a brief video.
And I was gonna say, then I found out that there was a video in it.
It's not as, I'll represent, it's not as long as the videos that we've watched so far. I'd like to play it, and then the witness can find out what she sees in the video.
Again, and if defense counsel wants to object on an evidentiary basis after the video is shown, we can deal with the objection part of it.
All right, we're gonna watch this, and I'll stop it at some point, and then I'll ask you some questions.
Well, I asked the guy last time I was here about it. He said government vehicles get an exemption. Splashing red. How's it going, man?
Kind of wondering why you give other people ransom notes, but you don't have to abide by the same rules that you say they do.
A city worker, this is city vehicle.
What does that mean? Does that mean you have extra rights? So, but your actions have shown otherwise. What'd you say? You don't think your actions show otherwise than what you just stated?
No,
How come?
and I'm not gonna stand here and have a conversation.
Well, I wish you would, because unthinkingly acting sometimes hurts other people. Just like think people could use that money that's now said owed to better provide for their family, or to invest in their own education. But now, for whatever reason, it's supposedly owed to some people that they've never hurt, yet you don't abide by those same rules you claim to uphold. How does that make sense?
Do you think it would be better if there was a separate spot that didn't have a meter? That way it's not just very hypocritical? Because if there was a separate spot, it would be like it's designated for that vehicle, but...
Transparency's good, right? You got nothing to hide. I hope you'll think about your actions. Think about how you get paid. Money taken from your neighbors. You say you have the right to steal their money to protect them and to uphold the rules, but you're stealing from them? I think that violates a far bigger rule. It violates law, not just legislation.
Jane, can you identify who was in that video?
It was Garrett Ian and Peter Ayer.
Were you here for the first day of testimony?
Yes.
Do you recall Mr. Ayer telling you that he never followed you or followed or videotaped any parking enforcement officers?
Yes, and I didn't remember, because that's like at one of the very first encounters that I had with these, back in December.
Yeah, do you remember this was December 2012? Is that correct? Is that what I
I
understand you saying?
believe so. I would say that that would be right.
Is that when these activities that we've been discussing here started?
Yes.
You heard Mr. Ayer say in that video, something to the effect of, this is how you get paid, you steal money from your neighbors. How does that make you feel?
I try not to let it bother me because I've had the same encounter with the others saying terrible things that,
You're used to, when you're on the street, you're used to interacting with the public, correct?
Mhm.
When you interact with them, it's normally in response to a ticket that you give them.
yes,
So when you were interacting with Mr. Ayer and Mr. Ian here, were you able to do your job when you were talking with them?
no.
So they were interfering with your ability to do your job?
Mhm.
You had to dedicate time to respond to them
Mhm.
on matters that didn't pertain to parking enforcement?
This particular day, I don't believe they were out on the street following me. I believe they were around the vehicle and I came up onto them. I was either getting ready to go to lunch or something and they were around my car. So I wasn't in the position where I had to try to get away from them at that point because they were just already there at the vehicle.
The defendants have followed you on foot, correct?
Yes.
And who's followed you before?
James Cleveland, Garrett Meehan, Graham Colson, Ian Bernard, Kate Ayer, and others that aren't named in this case.
And when they follow you, about how close are they to you?
It varies. When Kate would come out, she would usually walk beside me. She was fairly quiet. She doesn't say too much when she's out there. Garrett he has a little bit more respect than the rest of them and does give the space when I ask for it. And usually when he's following me, he's at a distance, or in front of me, he's at a distance. Graham has a tendency to get too close, and I guess he has problems seeing, and he squints a lot at the meters, so he'll stop quick, and I just about run into him when he does that, or he'll back up because he'll miss a meter and he'll go back to get it before I'm approaching it. James is always too close, within a couple of feet.
So describe, when you say too close, let me ask you this. Is this too close?
No,
What about here? Is this too close?
no. That's starting to approach
Is this too
my
close?
legs, yes.
Have they gotten this close to you?
And closer, yes,
Each of the defendants have?
yes.
Well, wait. For the purpose of the record, could these sound paraphrases of how close you are?
I agree, the record's gonna be a mess, we're not gonna have any idea of what the distance, and if you just.
I'll
clean that up a
clarify,
bit.
I'll clarify. I'm at council's table right now. Is this too close?
No. It's too close for me, but I understand what you're saying, and it's not interfering in my space.
So I'm approximately, let's say, a first down 30 feet or so from you. I'm gonna jump up where you testified the defendants have been. I can reach out right now and touch you, I'm doing that.
Mhm.
Is that too close?
Yes,
You find that upsetting?
yes,
Does it interfere with your ability to do your job?
yes.
So you said that you've seen each of the defendants follow you while you're doing your job. How often does this occur?
Daily.
And when you say daily, is this all day?
It varies. Sometimes they'll come out in the afternoon. It used to be before James got a job, he would be out every day, and he would spend the entire day out there. if he showed up. Now it's just Saturdays that he comes out with, well, the whole gang of them.
So if I understand you correctly, you say they come and go throughout the day. Is that stressful in and of itself?
Yes, because you're always looking over your shoulder, wondering when they're gonna show up, where they are.
And so you're dedicating some of your attention as you're doing your job to having to monitor where they are.
Yes.
I apologize if I asked you this, but just to clarify, do they follow you in groups?
Yes.
Have they ever run around you, run past you?
Oh, yeah, they used to do that quite often. And I say used to because, it's just been Garrett for the last few weeks that comes out in the afternoon. And he doesn't tend to, he makes his presence known and he doesn't run past me. He's always positioned himself in front of me. But when the groups of them used to come out, they would be behind me and they'd run past me really quick. There's been times when they bump me and they run into me. There was such a big crowd around me a few times that the